Want to make your Omnis Studio application look perfect on every device? I'll show you in this video. You probably remember the last video in this series in which I briefly mentioned layout breakpoints at the end. But what exactly are layout breakpoints, and what are they actually good for? In Europe, around 50% of all page views are triggered by mobile devices such as smartphones or tablets. This means that the screen sizes of both mobile devices and larger monitors must be considered when developing web applications. This is because an app developed for the desktop would be extremely cumbersome to use on a smartphone, as you would always have to scroll back and forth to see the content. The application would simply be far too big. The other way round, an app developed for mobile devices would look extremely empty on a desktop PC and would appear very small. Stupid, isn't it? The solution: layout breakpoints. In Omnis Studio, you can define different layouts for each view or for each remote form in an app. The appropriate layout is then automatically selected depending on the size of the user's screen. And nobody will complain anymore about apps that are difficult to use. And how exactly does this work in Omnis Studio? That's quite simple. But before we get started, some quick info. In this and in the upcoming videos in this series, I will always continue working with the library from the previous video. I can recommend this to beginners in particular, but it is by no means a must. Alternatively, you can, of course, transfer the procedures I'm showing in these videos also to your own projects or libraries. But now let's get started. To view or edit the layout breakpoints, we first need to open the RemoteForm, in which we want to edit the layouts in design mode. To do this, simply double-click on the form as usual. Here in the design editor, we can now see the existing layout breakpoints in the upper area. Actually, this is the default configuration. In other words, a 320 layout for smartphones and a 768 layout for desktops. The number represents the width in pixels from which the respective layout is displayed. It only applies for the smallest layout that even if the width of the client screen may be smaller than set, this will of course still be displayed. Otherwise, nothing would be displayed at all, and that would be silly. Alright, so in this case, the larger layout is displayed from a width of 768 pixels, and the 320 layout is displayed for screens smaller than that. If the two layout breakpoints are not enough for you, and you want to use the 786 for tablets, for example, and then need a larger one for desktops, you can add another layout here using the plus. I'll use 1024 pixels as an example here. You can also change the setting by double-clicking on the number of the layout breakpoint, or delete the entire layout breakpoint by clicking on the X. Don't worry, the content will not be deleted, as it has nothing directly to do with the layout breakpoint, apart from the alignment and variation. To edit the 320 layout, for example, I simply click on the 320 tab at the top here and align the components in the way that suits best. If you want, you can also hide certain components in a layout. This can be done using the Visible in Breakpoint property. To find these, you have to switch on the Advanced Property Manager below. The reason for this is that you should only use this property if you are really sure. For example, it is rather inadvisable to use this property to completely equip the RemoteForm with other components in a layout. So much for that. I'll leave the 320 layout as it is for now and only change the 768 one. I'll just make the button a bit bigger here, as the user seems to have enough space. Wonderful. That's it already. Now let's test it. This time I can use the test button above instead of the key combination. Just a quick reminder, the shortcut would be Command-T on Mac or Control-T on Windows. Let's see if we get both layouts displayed here. Top. This was quite a short video, but with an extended explanation, because layout breakpoints or responsive designs are an important topic that we will address again in the further process of this video series. However, in the next video, we'll take a look at how we can enable the user to enter data in order to make the app more interactive. You should not miss this next video. As always, you'll find a link where you can download the library from this video in the video description. So, hope to see you in the next video. Take care.